Welcome to the Trading Sliders Podcast. Here we go, episode number 10 of the Trading Sliders Podcast. My name is Bobby Puckett, and here with me is Kurt the Flash Bennett. What's going on, Flash?
Not much, Bobby.
Another long weekend watching races. Flash and I went and did some different type of racing Friday. Yeah. We'll get into that. But
some of us did some racing.
Yeah, some of us. We'll get into that. That's a long story. But this episode is brought to you by Football Race Cars. That's me. So everybody knows me. Knows I do bodies and clips, and I've got a lot going on in the garage. But quite frankly, we didn't have a sponsor this week for the show, so we just put mine out there. But if you do need anything, reach out. We're going to go on a trip. But once I get back, the garage will be open for just a little bit. But episode number 10, this week's guest is Cole Falloway.
Yeah.
Out of Owensboro, Kentucky. Flash and I made a trip down there last week and spoke to Cole Falloway before he was off on the road again.
Yeah.
He's a true definition of racer's race.
Yeah, if it's got wheels, he'll race it.
Yeah. But, news this week, like I said, Flash and I, we went Friday, went and did some slot car figure 8 racing, and had a really good time. Flash thought he was at the Drome again.
Yeah.
His car, when we got there, it had fenders and a nose, and we left. It didn't.
It didn't.
Yeah. But
it was a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, it is fun. It's a lot of fun. So
and it's a little harder than you think. Everybody thinks slot cars just be easy to, you just pull the trigger and go. That's not how it works.
No, it's when you're doing it, it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then this week's news, it's Gateway Dirt National Week, so there's going to be a lot of coverage from all over about Gateway. We will not be at Gateway this weekend.
No.
But we are going to have a special episode. We're going to cover the Gateway. We're going to watch it. But weather permitting, Flash and I will be doing next week's show either in Central Park or Bryant Park, somewhere in New York City.
Yeah.
Out in the streets in the hustle and bustle. So weather permitting, because they got about 3 feet of snow up there. But
yeah.
we're gonna go on a trip next week, so we will not be making it to Gateway, but there will be plenty of coverage. And like this week, we watched a ton of USAC stuff. USAC finished their season out, and hats off to Dazen Pursley. He won the USAC National Midget title. And one thing, I was going to talk to you, Flash, about this. We've talked about this before, but one thing, Dazen Pursley, he said in his interview was, he's glad to end his USAC career and use it as a stepping stone because he's going to go run high limit full time next year. We've talked about this. I kind of hate that USAC is a stepping stone because like this week out on the West Coast Swing, I mean, it was really, really exciting racing.
Oh yeah, and man, there's some guys out there that are just hammered down all the time too, and it makes it exciting, and you hate to lose those guys to move to another division. Actually,
yeah. And then like Dazen, he's one of those kids that he didn't even run a whole lot of non-wing sprint car racing.
Right.
He bounced around a little bit, but he was particularly a midget and a micro guy, but he's going wing racing next year with high limit. High limit guys, I'm just going to let you know, you got a kid that's coming balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is not he's not a just sit back and see how the race happens type of guy. So that's going to be fun to keep up with his progression. But man, it sucks when we're losing another USAC guy.
Yeah.
We also, like over the years, we lost Tyler Courtney to wing sprint cars. Now we're losing Brady Bacon to wing sprint cars. So
yeah,
USAC taking a little bit of a hit, but there's always plenty of young kids coming up.
There'll be new ones coming up.
Yeah, there's no shortage of especially West Coast talent.
Yeah,
the guys out on the West Coast, Jake Andriotti. And, I mean, there's plenty of West Coast talent out there that I'm sure they'll migrate. Here to Indiana. They always do.
Yep.
And a couple weeks ago, we talked about Ryan Gustin, possibly moving to the Wells Motorsports car. That kind of happened. Not exactly. He's still going to drive for Todd Cooney, but Ryan Gustin is going to be the new Category 5 house car.
Yeah, okay.
Which, it works out really good for Ryan Gustin. But, I mean, essentially, they're not really doing anything any different because he was kind of the Category 5 house car.
That's what he'd been doing for, I guess almost all last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, he Brandon Overton and him worked on the project together, and with Overton moving to Longhorn, they just kind of moved that program over to the Todd Cooney Racing. So the Reaper Ryan Gustin's probably going to have a pretty good year next year.
Oh yeah, I would say so.
he came on late here at the end of the year, and one last thing, news wise, before we get into this week's results. Ricky Thornton Jr. hasn't really committed to the Lucas Oil yet. Neither him nor Tim McCready.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with because Lucas Oil and the Chili Bowl overlap this year.
Yeah.
Lucas Oil season opener down in Georgia, it overlaps with the Chili Bowl. So Friday and Saturday, it's doable if he still wanted to run them. If he has some weather issues, maybe it's doable.
Yeah.
But if not, it's hard to make it from Tulsa to Georgia.
Yeah.
And unless you're in the A main, and maybe Lucas Oil runs early and you fly in, but man, that's a lot of stuff that's got to go right.
Yeah, that would be. That'd be really hard to get that done.
I mean, you've got to have a perfect day just to make that happen.
Yeah.
And then if you're in a B main or C main, it knocks off 2 hours. So
then it'd be really tight trying to make something like that happen.
And the last news item, which we're going to talk about it, here in results too, but I just want to say shout out to Kyle Busch. Because Kyle Busch, he took his lumps this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Hitting the road and traveling with the USAC National Midgets. I think they had 36 midgets his first night and 52 or 54, his second event. Wednesday night, we're going to get in and talk about Bakersfield here, but it wasn't like the track was really easy to get a grips of because the track was hammered down.
Oh, yeah.
And before we talk about both events, before we talk about the USAC stuff, shout out to the West Coast promoters. I even said this on Twitter. If the guys back here in the Midwest would even take a friction of their effort, we would not have races canceled left and right.
Yeah.
I know a lot goes into it, but the guys on the West Coast had no quit in them. Merced moved their races from Thursday and Friday to Saturday and Sunday to Sunday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And they got 6 or 8 inches of rain. Bakersfield got, I think, 6 inches of rain.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Merced actually turned out pretty racy Sunday night, but it wasn't real racy at Bakersfield. But they only had micro sprints and midgets. They didn't have the sprint cars to blow it off.
Yeah, they couldn't roll the track in good like that,
but
like they normally do. But
I mean, hell, they got the race.
They raced.
Yeah, they raced.
Yeah.
The guys because like I said, there's 36 midget teams, and I think about 30 of them. And it was at Bakersfield. It was all from the Midwest.
Right, yeah.
So they traveled across country, and, they got the race in. So Bakersfield, 36 entries. Tanner Thorson took the win over Ryan Timms and Cannon McIntosh. It wasn't the greatest race, but one thing I did enjoy, though, about this, Flash, I was going to ask you about this. When the track's heavy like that, it kind of gets technical, real technical. But I don't know if you noticed this, but Tanner Thorson, when... he was opening his entry up real wide and kind of running off the berm. So it was kind of hard to pass anyways, but it was really hard to pass because if you stuck your nose under him like Tim's got under him once, and then the way he ran off the berm, I mean, you got real tight. It's almost kind of like watching the late models at Eldora.
Yeah.
The way they were all losing their noses coming off the corner. So I kind of enjoyed that, really.
Yeah. It was a little different.
It was a little different, yeah. Kyle Busch, he missed a show with the B main by 1. He was leading his heat race, and the battery cable fell off. But
Yeah, he might have made it through that.
Well, I kind of liked what he said. He's like, I think Kyle Busch, as he's getting older, he's kind of just realizing what all this is.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because he's got to be a role model for Braxton or what, but he was like, well, I mean, we thought the battery was bad, so we changed it, but apparently we didn't put the cable on right.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, well, hell.
Yeah. That's what happens sometimes.
Yeah, that's what happens. So.
I've had stuff like it happen to me at the racetrack, so it's not a... We've all done different stuff and get home like, well, that's what was wrong with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we've all had shit like that. But like I said, Wednesday, a valiant effort by, the promoter there at Bakersfield. Like I said, the racetrack was, not what we wanted, but we were happy to have racing on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And then, then Friday night number 1 of the turkey night. First off, Ventura Raceway, that's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
That's one of those places that it's beautiful. The coast, the setting.
Yeah. They were showing the sunset last night. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's
pictures of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been there, but I haven't really been there. When we were out in California, I tried to go by and see it, but it was pitch black. And
yeah.
Like when you were looking at that sunset picture, and you seen the horse barns to the right.
Right.
That's all I got to see.
Oh, yeah.
I was out on the road and couldn't get in.
Yeah.
So I was kind of doing about that, and I was like, well, I'm gonna go over to the beach and see it.
Yeah.
Now, the pits that's in the beach, It's actually at the fairgrounds. It's actually the beach.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can't go to the beach and then come up and see the racetrack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I tried, but it was dark and didn't get to see nothing. But definitely a bucket list racetrack. They had 50 sprint cars with the Ultimate Sprint Car Series, and Carson Macedo took the win over Ricky Lewis, and C.J. Leary started 10th and ran 3rd. But one thing I want to say about this, Flash, Carson Macedo gets a lot of flack because we talked about it last week. There's, guys wanting to beat him up on Twitter.
Yeah.
That kid drives the wheels off a race car.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he absolutely doesn't give a shit if it's his brother. I think he wrecked his mom for the win.
I think so.
He doesn't care. I mean, he drives balls to the wall, and I kind of like that.
Yeah.
We were talking. There's a lot of guys that don't like it, but he does tear up equipment, but he's not only tearing up somebody else's equipment, he's tearing up his shit too.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll try a slider left and right, and just.
I could watch him and Ricky Lewis race all night together against each other.
Yes. Yes, they.
Neither one of them could eat each other any slack at all.
No, none whatsoever. So Carson Macedo, a lot of people don't really realize this, but he's a world outlaw wing sprint car racer. So he runs 80 races a year in a wing sprint car.
Yeah.
And you watch him in a non-wing sprint car and in a midget, you would think this guy was a non-wing guy.
Yeah.
Because wing sprint cars, like I watch him in wing sprint cars, he runs a wing sprint going like you're supposed to, straight, don't bind it up.
Right.
He gets in that non-wing sprint car and he's just like, watch this, boys. He binds it up on the gas. So
I'm going to use the right rear on the wall to get off his corner.
Yeah. and then he'll use the right rear on your left front too to get off the corner. He doesn't really care.
Yeah, that happened too.
Yeah. But I just want to say big props to Carson Macedo because, like I said, that kid can flat out drive anything. Ricky Lewis ran second, and C.J. Leary, rounded out the top 3. Leary started 10th. And I think, don't quote me on this, but that the Ultimate Sprint Car Series, they do a 360, 410, you do different weight packages.
Oh, okay.
Pretty good deal. But I think C.J. Leary was in a 360 car.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Which, that Friday night, one thing about Ventura, they do kind of drag their feet, like a negative. They kind of drag their feet on the show.
Yeah.
But the racetrack is good. Like, they're dragging their feet. At least they're watering the racetrack and, flipping the cushion over. But I seen where we talked about it last week, but, Jack Slash, he put on Instagram, he got his $42 worth because they were ripping the top.
Right.
So Jack Slash was happy. I commented on there. I told him, I said, yeah, you're out there doing God's work again. And he said, I'm just glad somebody listens around here. So apparently he didn't tell anybody Saturday, though, that they need to put a whole lot more water on it.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that here in a second. But 50 sprint cars. Actually, I think it was 53, but only 50 ended up running the heat races. I think they tore some up.
Right.
Friday night, they had like 6 rounds of midget hot laps. And did you see the old boy that put it up in the exit chute?
No, I'd seen it, and then I was going to go back and watch it. I never did get to go back and watch it. I turned it on right when they was trying to get the car out of there or something.
Yeah, he just biked up going down the backstretch, and then it started bouncing, and he cleared the first set of tires, like where you enter the turn.
Yeah. And
landed up in the palm trees. He yard sold it big time.
Yeah.
But he was all right. He ended up running Saturday. And Saturday, they had 52 midgets and 50 sprint cars. And I seen some people kind of complaining about this on social media. And I get where they're coming from, but being a non-wing sprint car guy, I don't want, a midget-only show Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand why people said that, but, how they did with theirs, they had 3 non-qualifiers race in a feature.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they qualified all the sprint cars. And
they ran them the least that they possibly could.
Yeah. And that Saturday night sprint car race was the best race of the West Coast swing, period.
Oh, yeah.
So,
definitely. I seen a bunch of people online griping about it. Said that was the worst sprint car race I ever seen. I said, where do y'all watch sprint cars at? Because that was the best. That was the best race I've seen probably in a couple months. To tell the truth about it.
If you know a better place to watch a sprint car race than Ventura's Saturday night feature, shoot me a text, email me, tag us on Facebook because I want to go there.
Yeah.
Because I've been to just about every place they've run non-wing sprint cars.
Yeah.
And that right there, that race Saturday night was a badass sprint car race.
Yeah. Well, they were griping because they had a couple of calls probably they thought should have been made because people jump on wheels and stuff like that. But them guys was just racing hard. That's all there stood. You're right. They're racing for what? That was 10,000 that night?
Yeah, it was 10,000, yeah.
Or, no, it was
5. It was 5,000.
Yeah, it was 5,000 that night. But still, it was on TV and out in there, a lot of those guys' hometown or home area out there anyway. Well,
it's like Ricky Lewis. Ricky Lewis took the sprint car win. Jake Andrade ran second, and Blake Bauer ran third. Blake Bauer won the sprint car title out there. But one thing about that sprint car race, like Carson Macedo, and this is another reason why I'm kind of partial to liking Carson Macedo.
Yeah.
Ricky Lewis threw a slider from hell, didn't hit him, which he did run over Tim's.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He didn't quite clear Tim's.
Yeah.
But at least he acknowledged it in victory. Like,
yeah.
He did say, well, I mean, I was kind of there, and I didn't really want to slide him.
That might be where they're a little different.
Yeah.
Because he acknowledged it.
Yeah, he did acknowledge him where, like, Macedo wouldn't have said nothing. Macedo would have been like, yeah, somebody hit my right rear. I was hoping I didn't have a flat. Like, what? Yeah. But Ricky Lewis, our slider of the week has definitely got to be Ricky Lewis on Carson Macedo. And he backed it in and just threw a massive slider. But Macedo rips the top for like 2 more laps.
Yeah.
And then just running balls to the wall. Macedo gets up into the catch fence and puts it upside down.
Yeah.
About like kind of what he did on the midget Wednesday night. But, for a guy that runs so hard, I'm all for that.
Oh, yeah.
It happens. Of course, it's not my equipment, my money. So, it's car owner, Tarleton and Sons may think different, but
he was doing what he was supposed to be doing. He was trying to win.
He was trying to win the damn race. He wasn't just going to ride there. That's for sure. And then the big one, the Turkey Night Grand Prix, 98 lap midget race. The first 30 laps was phenomenal.
Yeah.
At the last 50, we kind of knew you could see. And one thing that I really like about Brian Herbert on the call, Brian Herbert's one of the best announcers in the country, and he won't say the track's taking rubber. Yeah. But if you pay attention, he said there's a lot of shine coming off 3 and 4. When that starts to get dull, we're in trouble.
Yeah. And
I don't know if a lot of people picked up on that, especially people that's maybe watching this who don't really go to dirt racing.
Right. Yeah.
When the car's sliding across the slick and the cars stop sliding and start bouncing. Yeah. It's because there's rubber laid on the racetrack, and it's like running pavement with we got a dog attack over there. Yeah. It's like running pavement with like VHT on the track. So and the track did take rubber, but until it took rubber, Buddy Kofoid and Corey Day and Dazen Pursley, I mean, they were all going at it, before the track took rubber. Once it did take rubber, I think Corey Day seen it take a rubber first. Yeah. But one thing I want to say about this, the guys were sliding the car still. Like, Kofoid backed off of it and didn't slide it as much. But the guys were still sliding the car, and Corey Day, he kept the car straight as can be and was killing those guys off the corner. Yeah. I think I said Corey Day's 18 years old. Yeah. That takes a ton of patience. And that's... People don't even understand how hard that is.
Yeah. Well, when he passed, what's his name?
Jacob Denny.
Denny, yeah. He was a foot up from where he should have been, and what's his name, stuck it in there and made it stick. Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
Well, that's what I was thinking. When they would come off 2 there, I thought, oh, this might get bad. But Denny, a lot of guys, midget racers, get a bad rap for closing doors and causing wrecks. Yeah. And Jacob Denny, shout out to him, because he ended up running about 8th or 9th because of that. But he probably could have turned across his nose. It could have been a 50-50 on him. Yeah. But if it worked, he would have won the race. And he didn't tear up no equipment. So.
Yeah, but that was kind of a different race watching that part, though, because, you seeing the midgets running with those sliders for the wins or for that. I mean, that was probably the winning pass right there.
Yeah, and it took a whole lot of, like, patience. Yeah. So I know there were some people griping about it, but I wasn't so pissed off like everybody else was. Really.
No. Well, I mean,
we knew it was going to
it was going to end up that way anyway. The track was going to end up like at 98 laps. It was it's inevitable.
Well, especially with all the cars they had. Yeah. And they had so much rain, they really couldn't put a whole lot of water on it. They had to get a base, and it was kind of a perfect storm for. But one thing I noticed this Friday night too, but it didn't take rubber. Right before it takes rubber, did you notice that the track started turning green? Yeah. Like, so I don't know, something about the dirt with the tide. I'm no West Coast expert, but about 10 laps before that, it was about 5 to go in the sprint car feature, the track started turning green on the bottom. Yeah. And we've seen it turn maroon down south.
Yeah, down south it doesn't.
Yeah, it started turning green, so I don't know if it has something to do with the tide or hell, the algae. I don't know. Being in California, they might have to put something on the dirt to keep the dust down. I don't know.
Yeah, there's no telling.
But it started turning green. But like I said, Corey Day took the win. One cool thing about this, Corey Day is running an engine that's 20 years old, no power.
Yeah.
When everybody else is on Toyota and Chevrolets right now. And I did see somebody say, well, that motor's been rebuilt. Well, no shit.
Yeah.
But still, it's a 20-year-old engine it's an old concept that they're doing.
Yeah.
It's not a
cookie cutter everybody else is doing right now.
Yeah, they're not calling up Toyota Speedway Motors and say, hey, give me what everybody else has got.
Yeah.
So shout out to Corey Day. And he's another guy that we talked about USAC losing guys. High Limit's losing to Corey Day next year. He's going to Hendrick Motorsports, and I think he might be full-time in the truck next year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to lose Corey Day. I think he's going to come back and run as much as possible. He said it was his last race of the year. I think he's going to run the Chili Bowl. Then after that, we're not going to see him in none of speed weeks or anything. He's going to be down there concentrating on the NASCAR stuff.
Right.
So thanks to Kyle Larson, we lost another dirt racer to the pavement world.
What about Kyle Larson, too, when he got took out?
Yeah. Well, Kyle Larson got took out by Corey Day.
Yeah.
Did you hear?
Yeah.
Did you see the funny thing? They asked Corey Day, and, Larson got Day the ride.
Yeah.
Larson's the one that told Jeff Gordon said, Kyle Larson, if there's anybody that we can sign that's, out of this world talent, tell me who. And he don't even have a relationship with Corey Day. He goes, Corey Day.
Yeah.
And so they signed him. But Corey Day ran... I think he was going to try to slide across the middle.
Yeah. And
Larson was, rolling her down on the bottom, but he got into him and turned him around. Larson kept the car going. But in the interview after the race, they asked him, Christie asked him and said, what was the deciding factor in winning that race? And he said, well, the deciding factor was I kind of took Jesus out himself in front of me. So he's like, I wasn't going to be Kyle Larson, but I got into it. He didn't apologize, but in a Corey Day way, he kind of apologized. I mean, so I'm sure Young Money probably gave him some elegant talk back there.
They was all running in there. Like I said, it was already starting to tighten up on the bottom, and Larson was trying to run up under the guy in front of him there, and I think he might have checked up a little more than Corey thought he was going to anyway.
Well, honestly, Larson kind of opened the entry, same way Dave made the pass for the lead.
That's what I'm saying. I think he was about 3 foot.
A little bit higher.
Yeah, higher than what he thought he was going to be.
And I think when Dave seen that, Dave was just going to slide across the middle because when you open your entry up like that and you miss the rubber, you have so much wheel spin coming off the corner.
You got to go above it or... Yeah. I mean, so you can't drive... kind of drive straight across is what you almost have to do.
I'm no Corey Day apologist, but I think Corey Day was going to try to roll through the middle and then hook the cushion coming off turn 2.
Yeah.
But he never got to the middle. He just popped Kyle Larson and sent him around. But in the sprint car feature, Carson Macedo did the same thing to CJ Leary on the entry.
Yeah.
And just turned him around.
On the start?
Yeah. On the restart. He just punted him.
Yeah.
And Leary pulled up next to him, and CJ Leary's another guy not sending Carson Macedo any Christmas cards this year.
Yeah.
But that was it for Turkey Night. Like I said, I love that Turkey. I kind of wish Turkey Night was still Thanksgiving night, honestly. Yeah. But I understand why they do it now because, they got a whole swing out there.
Right.
But cool midget trophy, cool midget event, cool racetrack. And, the only other race that went on this weekend I was able to catch up with, the Craig Racing USA down at Swainsboro, Georgia for the Turkey 100. $10,000 to win. They had 232 cars for a 2-day event.
Gee.
You race in the South and the West. Hold on, guys. If you're a racetrack promoter in the South, don't run in July and August. Yeah. Just wait and run in October, November, December, January.
Yeah.
Because people show up in droves.
Oh, yeah.
I get it. I mean, the weather's still halfway decent. I think it was a little bit cooler there than normal.
Right.
But they ended up with 57 604 late models, Croatian USA. And big sexy Brandon Overton took the win. I know you look on my race pass, it shows that the results that he started second, won, but it wasn't just like he started on the front row and got down and took the win. They was racing all over the racetrack. But Brandon Overton took the win, and in downtown Michael Brown was third or second, and Will Harrington was third. Will Harrington started like 16th, and Harrington was ripping the top. About halfway through the race, it started locking down, but if the track would have stayed good the whole race, Will Harrington probably would have won. I mean, he was just flat getting it around. You never been to Swainsboro before, have you?
No, I've seen it on TV, on
because
before, but
Swainsboro it kind of tapers off and had a tabletop on it for years.
Yeah.
And the guys down there now, I don't know who's got the racetrack now, but they've cut the tabletop off, but it's not gone. So the tabletop, like Harrington was running above the tabletop with the right rear, but running with the left rear on the banking.
Oh, okay.
So he's kind of like running on it was flat up there.
Yeah.
Worked out good until it didn't. So,
yeah.
And I think Will Harrington's going to be at the Dome this week. So
yeah.
That's another hot shoe. Will Harrington, and we talk about guys in the South like Will Harrington and Ashton Winger. Those guys, they drive the wheels off the car. You would think they're sprint car racers, the way they drive those late models.
Yeah.
But that was the only thing else I want to talk about. Said Slider of the Week went to Ricky Lewis on Carson Macedo. Besides that, I don't think there's really anything else.
No, really. I mean, that's about all that was going on this week as far as racing wise.
I mean, we watched everything we could. Hell, we couldn't.
Only other thing we do is talk about what we eat.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could do that. That's not right. I mean, I eat a lot of everything. So
this weekend was a good weekend to be eating.
Yeah, it was a damn good weekend to be eating. Hell, we're gonna talk about what we ate. I had 2 chili dogs last night during the feature.
That works out,
guys.
Makes you feel at home that way.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Are you a chili dog person, Flash?
Oh yeah, I love chili dogs.
Have you had Rally's chili's dogs?
It's been a long time.
Oh my god, they are so damn good. That chili is so sweet. I'm going to pick up weight just talking about it.
Yeah.
I might stop. I know you just fed me fish again, but I might stop and get some chili dogs on the way home. I love Rally's chili dogs. So I had that last night while the races were going on. But
I've still been doing the leftover thing.
Yes. Well,
Other than the night I cooked that fish.
Well,
I did get to go catch fish on Thursday. I did do that before we ate turkey, so that worked out good.
That was good.
Yeah.
Well, I just had Thanksgiving dinner again tonight.
Yeah.
So we're just going to eat Thanksgiving up. Yes, forever.
Yeah.
So that's just what we're going to do. But coming up next on the Trading Sliders podcast, our deep dives with Owensboro, Kentucky, Cole Falloway. It's time for the Trading Sliders deep dives presented by Kentucky Clutch and Performance. Here we go. Trading Sliders deep dive. Take 2. You guys didn't hear the first take. I just made Cole talk for an hour and I didn't hit record. No, all jokes aside. This week's Trading Sliders deep dive is Owensboro, Kentucky's Cole Falloway. Won the modified hot shoes. And on the Trading Sliders podcast, we say racers race. And Cole, thank you for doing this. I know you had a late night last night and got up early by your standards to meet us here this morning. But thank you for taking time out and doing this.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we race all the time. We raced yesterday, and then we're leaving again Wednesday or Thursday, something like that. So
yeah, so like we say racers race, and that's we always say that. And Cole, you are a racer, and a lot of people drive race cars. Then there's very few racers. You are a definition of a true racer. Tell me how this started. How did the racing business start for Cole Falloway?
Yeah, my family's been in racing for forever. I started racing go-karts when I was 4. I played a couple other sports a little bit here and there, but I quit doing all that and just focused on racing. That's all I've done.
So being down here in Owensboro, which has turned into kind of the Western Kentucky dirt racing hotbed, you and Tyler Nicely, I know he's going to go up, move on, do some other things, and Josh Harris and Charlie Medford, the what do you guys call each other? The Rockport what is that? What is that?
Well, I don't even know how we came up with that. The Rockport Rejects. We just we go-kart racing. We do it more for fun, but obviously we're serious about winning whatever we race.
Well, yeah, no shit. You're going to Mississippi next week to race go-karts.
We I don't know. We came up with that and it just kind of stuck.
Well, because Tyler didn't really run a whole lot last year, so you're the like in the mob world, you're the man of the Rockport Rejects right now, correct?
I guess so, in a way.
You're waving the flag for everybody.
Yeah, Tyler slowed down some last year. He could probably still come and whoop up on us whenever he wanted, but yeah, I don't know. We all race. We all kind of take turns racing go-karts. I don't know. We do it all for fun, but like I said, we're pretty serious about it too.
Well, being down here in Owensboro, there's you growing up as a race fan, because we all start off race fans. I mean, you had the Waltrips, the Greens, so you've always heard about it. But like, why dirt racing and not pavement racing?
I guess more with my dad. My papa, they all raced with the Greens and the Waltrips back in the day at Western Kentucky Speedway. They all raced together all the time. But I guess whenever I was coming up, we were all in the dirt racing side. So that's just kind of where I stayed.
Well, thank God for Papa.
Yeah, it's a good time to be on.
Yeah, because what we say here, pavement's for getting there and dirt's for racing.
Yeah.
This past year, you had a phenomenal year. I'm going to do a little cheat here because usually I don't write nothing down. We off the cuff. But 45 races, and how many victories did you have?
I don't even know, 12, 14, something like that. It wasn't.
Well, see, I always kind of ask that because I want to make sure, because a lot of guys are like, well, I won 30, or I won, it's cool when you don't really know. I think you won 12 feature wins, raced all over the country. I think you ran 10 or 11 states.
Yeah.
Being from Western Kentucky, I don't know how to say this politically correct. I don't want to piss people off, but being from Western Kentucky, the competition in this area, the 4 or 5 you guys that travel are really good, but everything else in this area, it's not what it used to be. Let's say that way politely. You do a lot of your racing in Illinois, which is one of the toughest regions in the country to race.
Probably one of the toughest places you can go, yeah.
What's the difference between racetracks that you grew up racing and then going up to the black dirt? Because I know your answer, but I don't think everybody else knows your answer.
Yeah, it's tough up there. You go up there one night and be the best car there, and the next night you're awful. You just the competition's so good, and then we really don't have much around here for mods anymore. Like, we don't race within 3 or 4 hours of the house ever. And I always told Dad, like, I feel like if you can go to Illinois and run good on a consistent basis, you can go pretty much anywhere and run good. And that's kind of been my goal the last couple of years, and I still ain't really consistently good up there, but I've been better than whenever I started going up there. So the racetracks are different. They always race really good, but they're tough to figure out too.
Well, with your style, you're more of a, not buying the car up, keep the car, go-kart racing, keep your momentum, keep the car straight. You get up there, there's a lot of times you just got to twist it in, throw your nuts over the shoulder and go. And, that for someone that grew up racing in the slick and straight, that's tough to do. That's tough to make that change.
Oh, it is. I always struggle qualifying up there. I always feel like I can race okay once it slows down, but I always struggle qualifying because I don't drive it near hard enough. And
this year, I talk about you traveled, we ran into each other all the way hell up in Chicago. I was working for a sprint car series, and you come up there and won the big modified race. But I think you went out to Pennsylvania a couple times. Them racetracks out there are way different, aren't they?
Yeah, everywhere out that way seems to be huge.
Yeah, not big, huge.
Yeah, they're huge. We went to Port Royal. I struggled there, but that was kind of my first time racing on something like that, and it's something you gotta teach yourself all over again because it's totally different than anything else.
Yeah. And did you go to Bedford also?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think Bedford, because I've been to both of them, I think Bedford is actually tougher than Port Royal because it's just as big, but it's flat.
Yeah.
Like when you haul off into the corner, like people that's run Terre Haute before say, well, you carry so much speed. Well, think about the straightaways being another 40 foot long, and then you haul off into the corner. Bedford is really tricky to get around.
Yeah, I struggled the first night. I think I ended up third or something. The second night, I just tried to get better in traffic, and I started 5th or 6th and ended up winning it, but we were a lot better the second night.
See, Flash, we're talking to somebody that's really good when he said I struggled.
Yeah.
We ran third.
Yeah.
That's a bad night for Cole Falloway. Most people are like, third, man, we were on it tonight. Yeah. Cole's like, damn, we sucked. We ran third. I know you talk about your dad and your grandpa and your mom. She's always at the racetrack with you. It's really family oriented when you guys go racing. I think that's really cool. And you got the guy that helps you. He's not related, is he?
Charlie. He might as well be another granddad to me. I've been around him since I was born, and he might as well be another granddad.
Well, he about ran me over with a 4-wheeler at Shady Hill. So he's like, "Hey, come here. I ain't seen you in forever." And we were talking, but your family travels with you, and that's got to make it easy, doesn't it?
Oh, it's nice. Obviously, mom and dad support everything I do, and then Charlie and Curtis, I I don't know that they've missed a race since I started racing big cars. So it's nice to have people like that behind you for sure.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If like we're here at the car lot right now, if you need something clean, Curtis is always wiping on the race car. I mean, I've never seen nobody wipe down a race car. So, like, I was just joking at Beckley one time. I was like, Cole's going to be 2 or 3 tenths slower today because all the dust in the pits. Because usually, like, you guys made the drive from when we were in Beckley. Where did you guys race the night before? Somewhere in Illinois, Spoon River, maybe.
Spoon, it was Spoon.
So it was like 9-10 hours overnight.
A long way.
Yeah, but they kind of told a story on you that you didn't do much driving that night.
Oh no, I slept.
Yeah. Well, they had to make sure Cole, he was a passenger princess. He wanted to be in, tip-top shape. But guys who travel like that, people don't understand that race locally. Explain to them how hard it is to do this on the road. Because, like you said, everything from here is 3 hours.
It's tough. There's a lot of weekends we're gone 3 or 4 days at a time before we get home, and it's a lot of driving. And obviously, it takes a lot of money to go do it too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you got some sponsors, and your family's in a situation where they can't help, so that's great. But the cost of racing, you go here in this series, you got to run American Racers. You go here, you got to run Hoosiers, which I know you're particularly a UMP guy because you ran for the national. Was your goal to run for the national points this year, or what was the goal when you set the season out? Before we get into that,
not really. I raced more this year than I probably ever has, but no, a lot of people probably don't even realize I started off this year awful. I did not. I think I won the first race out, and then I did not win a race for like 3 months. I struggled really bad. Do
you want to tell everybody why, or you want me to tell them that your shock bracket moved and you didn't even notice it?
It was a shock bracket. I had the wrong one on, and
I was talking to him, and he goes, "Well, we've been." I think it was at Circle City or something. I was talking to you. He goes, "I've been so bad." I said, "Why?" He goes, "I don't know." And I see him a few weeks later. He's like, "Guess what? I found it. A shock bracket." Yeah. I was like, "What?"
I found it, and then I ran second. Like, I don't even know how many times. It was like 8 or 10 times in a row I ran second before I could finally win a race again.
Well, that's a good problem to have, though. Running top 3, trying to figure it out. It could be worse. Do you ever have a goal to run for the national championship, or is that something that's? Because that's a lot of work. I mean, that's a lot of work, and that's a lot of traveling up north because you have to go where the car counts are, which I think is great how UMP kind of did the points that way. But for a guy like you and guys in Tennessee, it's almost impossible to win unless you travel a ton.
Yes. I wouldn't mind doing it one time. I don't know. It'd obviously be tough to win them. There's a lot of good cars. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what happens. I feel like this year I wouldn't have been. I mean, I ended up 5th. I didn't race probably enough to win national points, but I feel like if I could have started off a little better, I would have been a lot closer still.
Well, it's not. I mean, you raced like 40-something nights, so it wasn't like you. Oh, and then I do got something because we do positive and negative. There's something I'm gonna bitch at you about here in a minute. But it's not only that, but you bounce around. Like you run with the Cumberland Plateau series, you run with other series, so you chase money, run the big races. So it's not like you can't hang your head on running 5th in the national points because first, you didn't set out to do it, and second, if they're paying $5,000 3 hours from the house the other way, that's where you're going to go. So it's understandable.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me this year. I really didn't go race for too little of money at all this year. I try to just go wherever's paying the most because that's what helps us keep going.
Yeah,
helps pay the bills.
It helps pay the bills, and I mean, you may not think this because you're
21.
Okay, I thought you was 22, 23, 21 years old. So you don't realize this at this time, but us old guys do. When you go and race the bigger races every week, you're only going to get better.
Yeah.
Because you're going to find out, which if you go and beat up on, 7 cars at this one racetrack, you're not going to learn anything because you're doing the same thing because you already showed up, your equipment's better. But when you show up and everybody's on the same equipment, you got to learn how to win. As a fan, as a former racer, as a guy that works with the series, you're doing it the right way. Yeah. So when you have those terrible runs and run third, just think, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. I don't know. I get down pretty easy. Me and Tyler talk about that all the time. it's hard if you go on a long streak of not winning nothing to get back to where you can again.
Well, racing is as much mental as it is physical, demanding. You know, Kurt and I, we talk about this all the time. Like, I don't understand, because we grew up racing in a time where we did it all. Now everybody just buys parts.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, he built his car with his dad. I built my car with my dad. Like, so we grew up at a time where
we went to the junkyard, got the parts.
Yeah, you go to the junkyard.
Built what you needed. Now you can just look it up in the book, order it, or online, order it, and have it sent to the house.
Like, if I had the wrong shock bracket on, that's because I built the damn thing wrong. Okay, I didn't just bolt the wrong shock bracket on, okay? Yeah. But the way that you're progressing as far as a modified driver, I mean, you're the one of the top modified drivers in the country. You don't have to say that. I'll say that, because then they're like, well, you hear it, Cole, he's conceded. But what's your goal? Do you want to go super late model racing, or do you want to go sprint car race? I mean, what is your goal?
I feel like anybody that's near my age racing a modified, at some point we want to end up in a super late model. I feel like that's where most people want to end up at. I think that's where I want to end up at. I think it would be cool to do. It takes a lot of money to do it all.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, if you're listening out there and you're just some old rich farmer that's got some cars sitting around and looking for a young driver that, let's say he's pretty politically correct. He won't say nothing too bad to embarrass you. Cole Falloway's looking for a ride.
Yeah.
The cost of racing in general is just ridiculous right now. You know, how do you guys do it? Because I'm fascinated on how do you justify, you know, going to Illinois, because you can't go for one race. You got to run 2 or 3, right? Like, because even the good paying races aren't great. So,
no, I don't know. I guess, like you said earlier, racers race.
Yeah.
I mean, we just, my biggest thing, like I said earlier, I just try to go where the money is. And if we can go race for even $2 or $3 grand, 3 nights within 45 minutes or an hour of each other, or catch something on the way home the last day, that's what we try to do.
Well, the Northern All-Stars are coming out with a modified series, and you got the Mars series and the Cumberland Plateau series. And I'll kind of let this hat out of the bag a little bit. We're going to come a few more races your way. They're still in Tennessee, but Clay Hill, maybe Duck River might be. So it's closer. I mean, but you guys, you can race for a pretty good amount of money where you're at. It's just everything's at least 3 hours. Yeah. A person that races on a local Saturday night, they're like, 3 hours, that sucks. I'm not going there. I'm going over here to Windy Hollow, 15 minutes away. Speaking of Windy Hollow, that's kind of where you grew up racing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't got hold on a second. That sounded like you regretted it. Let's try this again, because I know where he's going with this, but
well, I did so much go-kart racing. Once I got into the full body car, which I did that for a year, or 2 years, I think, before I got in the first mod. So I raced at Windy some, but it wasn't like a long time.
Well, because I remember you a lot when you. How old was you when you got the mod? 14?
Something like that.
Because I remember you coming to Ponderosa Speedway quite a bit on Friday nights. And I remember at that young age watching you learn your craft in the mod, because the car was always fast, but Cole wasn't always fast. You know what I mean, Flash? He run 2 good laps.
Well, he picked some of the hardest race cars to try to drive anyway, I think. I think the mods are the hardest cars to drive. I got a crate car, I've drove mods, I've drove pure stocks, I've drove old bombers.
Well, not only that, he picked it at one that, like, Ponderosa's not really easy to get around anyways.
Yeah.
You know, so he his learning curve was major when he got started. I said there's something I want to gripe at you about. Earlier this year, we was at Florence Speedway, and this is your one DNS on the season. We was at Florence Speedway, and you know where I'm going?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So, no, I've always teased Cole at the racetrack and stuff. We have a pretty good relationship, enough where I think I can say this without pissing him off. And if he does get mad, he can't go nowhere. We're in the hood. We're more in my neighborhood than we are in his, so I'm good. So, but the track was heavy, and there was a couple drivers that loaded up, and I thought for sure one of them that was not going to load up, because Racers Race was Cole Falloway, and he loaded up, and I almost reached out to him and kind of blasted him a little bit, but, you know, I said, it's not my money. I'm a racer. I've been there. But you left. You didn't even stay for the races, right?
I did not.
That was the best damn racetrack Florence Speedway has been in 3 years.
Yeah, I went home. The biggest thing with that is I've been to Florence a lot when it's rained the day of. And I'm not trying to bash Florence because I love Florence and I go there and race as much as I possibly can. But I've been there when it's rained and it usually does not end good.
Well, see,
after it rains.
Okay, I'm gonna let you give your opinion on it, and I'm gonna give mine on it. That's usually when it's real early in the year, and this ground was hard it was hard, and the racetrack probably could use some rain that day. I'm just teasing with you because it's it's your money, it's your sponsor money, and it's your decision, but. Out of all the guys that stayed and left, I would have lost money at the casino that night because, he grew up racing at Windy Hollow, Ponderosa. It's not like these places are state of the art. Yeah. And Florence has really, really got thought. There's no way Cole's leaving. It's like, son of a bitch, Cole left.
I did. That was at the point in time that my stuff was just starting to get back close again, and I was actually knocking off some decent finishes again, and I was really worried that it was going to be rough, and I did not want to go out there and tear something up and then be back trying to catch up again.
So what you're saying is you didn't want to order another shock bracket?
No.
You didn't want to get the wrong damn one?
Yeah.
No, like I said, I was like, damn, I cannot believe Cole left. Out of all the guys that left, I mean, this kid just drove 8 hours overnight to race, and this is probably the closest damn track to his house, and he's going home. So I know you and Tyler Nicely are really good buddies. How much does Tyler help you?
A ton. That car that I raced this year, I ordered it. It was just a frame, cockpit, and decking, and me and him built it in his shop last winter. So he's almost like a big brother to me. He's helped me more than I could even tell you the last 4 or 5 years as far as working on it and driving and everything in between.
Well, see, that's good because you guys kind of travel the country together. I know last year Tyler... we're not going to bash him a little bit because he had a baby. But I mean, he went street stock racing, which is great. But he went pavement street stock. How in the hell did you let him do that?
I enjoy going to watch him, and
oh my god, I'm going to beat you up. Me and you are going to fight out here in the parking lot.
It's different. I don't know. It's totally different than anything else we've done.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to beat you up too bad. But you guys travel the country together. And you race together. How hard is it? Because that's got to be strenuous on the friendship. Because it's not like one of you guys is there and the other one's competing. I mean, when you guys roll up to Fairbury, I mean, you're both there to compete. How tough is that? Juggling a friendship and racing.
I mean, it hasn't really been hard at all, honestly. Because how much he helps me, and then it hasn't. I don't think we've ever touched each other on the racetrack.
Oh shit! You should not have said that. Yeah. You should. Well, no. Okay, he's going. You're good. You're not going to touch him this year either. Okay. Yeah. I was like, you should not have said that because that's how shit goes bad.
I don't think we have.
Yeah. Have you always been in an elite car?
No, the first year I was in a Bandit. It was an older Bandit.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. How much help is Nick Hoffman? And because Nick is doing his own thing now, trying to compete for a national championship on a national touring series. Is he still the same Nick? Is it easy to get a hold of? Yeah. Or is it just you rely on Tyler and you guys done it so long that you just call Nick when you need Nick? Like
me and Tyler, obviously he helps me a ton. If I don't talk to Nick all the time, but if I need to call Nick, he'll answer the phone and help me with whatever.
That's what I'm saying, because I know car builders, it's tough, especially when you're racing. And I talked to Ryan Thomas about this one time at Diamond Race Cars, and I was like, you're racing with the guys, and he's like, no, I want my cars to win. I don't care. And, that's, and Brian Barber's told me the same thing at Bandit. Like, when we interviewed Brian Barber, he was like, I mean, I can just quit and be a crew chief. I'm fine with that. Yeah. So, but I know once you get on the racetrack, it's so competitive. So it's tough. I didn't know, because you hear stories of certain guys are hard to get along with and get a hold of. And I don't really know Nick all that much. So spoke to him a time or two, but he seems like he's pretty easy to work with.
Yeah, he's not bad at all. He's super busy all the time.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he might not answer every time you call, but if you need something or you text him, he'll get back with you.
Well, he's gonna be really busy after the after the races at Volusia.
After last night,
there was stuff tore up everywhere. I bet you're glad you're racing go-karts.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't go.
Going forward this year, I know you don't do speed weeks a whole lot. Usually your race season starts in March. It's always been forever when Brownstown, the Indian Icebreaker, was your first start. And I'm gonna let you in a little secret. I'm pretty sure mods are gonna be back there this year. James Essex and the Northern All Star Modified Tour is they're putting together some really good things. I know you gotta be excited for that. You know, race for money in your backyard, so to speak.
Yeah, I'd said anyways, I wish we had some kind of series like that was outside of Illinois that we could go race to, and I feel like we're going to now. So
yeah, so what Cole's saying, without saying it, but I'll say it. Illinois guys, come on over here to Slick Brownstown and see what you got. Cole won't say that, but I'll say it. You guys come on over here and we'll see if it's such a cushion banging racetrack.
yeah.
Are you going to run speed weeks this year? Is that the plan?
That's the plan right now. Yeah. We've talked about it, and I believe we're going to this year.
Yeah, because that's a grueling 9 days too, especially if you go down and do the North Florida and the Ocala stuff, and then go over to Volusia.
We'll probably just do Volusia, but they made it longer this year too. It starts like 3 or 4 days earlier, and then goes the same time.
But I think you guys are on a couple of nights by yourself. The way the schedule is, I don't think.
Yeah, I haven't really looked at it that close.
Well, yeah, because you're like trying to find a go-kart track in South Alabama on a Tuesday night. So I mean, your schedule's busy. We get it, man. We get it. All right. As your racing career progresses, and I know you said you're eventually go with super late model racing, but is racing something you see yourself doing in 20 years, or are you like, I've got this goal that I want to get to, and then I'm cool with trying to promote a racetrack. I'm cool with trying to work at a race. Yeah. I mean, what? I know you're 21 years old, so it's easy to say, hell no, I'm racing forever. But what is your main goal? Because racing is such a hard lifestyle. As we were coming up, I came up the back way, and I told Kurt, hey, there was a little racetrack here at the Ohio Fairgrounds. Mm-hmm. I said, I ran a stock car race here, and I stopped in. I'm like, holy shit, the track's gone. Like, there's nothing there. So, what is your goal, past racing?
I don't know. I mean, I can see myself racing for a long time just because I don't know what I'll do if I'm not racing. I mean, I don't know what else I would do on the weekends or whenever. We work on go-karts or we work on a race car every night of the week. Like, that's...
Well, because didn't you do a little bit promoting at the Rockport Speedway? Was you?
No, that's Tyler.
That's Tyler. Okay, you went in on that?
I don't do no promoting. Yeah, that's all his deal there.
Yeah, so you guys still running that this year?
Yeah, he actually owns Rockport, so yeah, we'll do go-kart races. He does that Wednesday night deal. It's really fun. It's just box stocks, a couple classes, and we're out of there early. And yeah, he's gonna keep doing it as far as I know right now.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna have you put in a good word for us. Let's have a micro sprint race there. It's about the perfect size racetrack. Yes. I know the walls, it needs some stuff worked on, but as far as racetrack wise, and where you're at right there by Hobstock, I mean, let's have a micro sprint race there.
We talked about it a little bit. The biggest thing is the fencing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So we have to get some kind of fence put up. But I can talk to him about it.
Yeah, let's talk to him about it. We might get him on the show, and I might harass him the whole time. Like, you put in a good word, and all these guys, they won't harass you, and then I'll just the whole time like, you're going to have a micro sprint race there. Yeah. So we're almost 30 minutes into this. We're not going to keep you, all night. But if I ask everybody that comes on this, as way racing cost and the struggles, if there's one thing that you could change about modified racing, what would it be?
I don't know. I don't know that there's any way to bring the cost back now. Just the cost of everything and the point it's got to. I don't know that you could change one thing or even a few things and get it to come back to...
What's some things you would think you would put in play to bring the cost back? How do we... Because we don't got to do it all at once, but we got to take some baby steps because $100,000 modified racing for $1,000 doesn't make sense to anybody. So how do we do that? All the simple places everybody talks about starting at shocks.
you change your shock rules and bring all that cost back. The cost of tires is ungodly now, and they're talking about them going up even more for next year.
What about a hard tire? Are you a hard tire fan? A fan of putting these on like hockey pucks?
You're still going to have your same guys that put on 4 new tires every night.
If you're spinning a tire on top of the track and you got a shock rule where you're not getting tires on the racetrack, you're not going to burn. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
I mean, you talk about that, but yeah, we could go to a hard tire, but obviously, there's people that think that new tires help or don't think that new tires help, but if they do help, you're still going to have your same guys that can put on 4 new tires every single night.
Yeah. So that's I'm just wondering, exactly. I don't know, because I'm throwing stuff at the wall too, because we're trying to save racing, especially modified racing, because like I'm a major IMCA guy. I love IMCA, and people bitch about the crate engines. They haven't been to an IMCA show and seen how it's teched.
Yeah. If
it's done right, the IMCA guys are racing for the same amount of money as you guys with a $40,000 race car.
Wow.
So I mean, who's the fools here? That's one of our things that we're pushing is like, how do you save what we have? Because modified racing was meant to be blue collar racing. It was meant for guys like you that, you got your family's got a small business, and obviously you can't spend $2 million this year going to race a super late model. So, modified racing is meant for that. So we have to do something, and I don't really know what the answer is.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It is definitely out of hand, but I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know how you could bring it back now.
Because I think the biggest problem is the cars are too hooked up. I had this talk with a couple guys, like, people say, well, they're running soft tires. Well, you got to have a big motor. Well, if you're on a shock package, and let's just say, I'm not a big fan of the droop rule because it's so hard to check. But what if we say there's no canisters, no biscuits on the left rear, and you can run a 19-inch chain? Once you lose drive, you can get it back in check a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know what the answer is. But I also know that cars, when it's slick and you can go around the track wide open, it's just going to take more money to win. So I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It's all the technology and everything has got it so advanced now, and our stuff. Like, I would rather go race on a slick racetrack every weekend than ever have anything that's fast. But that's where our cars thrive too, is whenever it slows down.
Well, I know that because you're joking with me one time. He's like, I just want to go somewhere where it's going to slow down a little bit. And I was teasing you. I'm like, I don't want it to slow down as much as you do. I just wanted to get some hose in it. You're like, hell no. But hose provides passing. So I'm not saying like we want cars tore up, but if we have a little bit of character, the cars aren't hooked up to the racetrack. So, I'm thinking as a former racer, I wanted it slow and slick on the bottom with a heavy cushion, so you could just beat the cushion down, and then you screw up on the cushion. And as a former racer, but as a fan, you kind of need it a little bit choppy, just not rough, but choppy, because you got guys changing lines up, especially. I know you don't want to hear this being an elite guy, but you need it a little choppy in the middle. Because the elite guys are like slot cars. They put it in the middle and they just go.
Yeah.
But honestly, though, the track needs to be a little choppy, not rough. It needs a little bit of character. So if it's smooth and slick, I know you like it because that's where you thrive. But as far as better racing, smooth and slick used to be the best racing because the cars weren't hooked up. Now smooth and slick is what hammer down used to be.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like Evolution last night, well, this is going to be 2 weeks when this goes out, but Evolution a few weeks ago when all that happened, like, I've seen people bashing the racetrack. That wasn't the racetrack's issue. The track was slick on the bottom and it had a cushion. The issue was guys don't run on half-mile racetracks that much, and they just run into each other.
There was a couple wild ones for sure.
And speaking of which, I don't want to go on forever, but you grew up racing on quarter miles, small 3/8 miles. The difference in it running on a half-mile track, your speed, it's not the straightaway speed, it's the corner speed that's so much different. That's where all the wrecks happen. Explain to people how that actually works.
It's totally different. Like whenever I went to Port Royal, it took me a while to figure out, like, the air is so big on stuff like that. It's such a big deal. if you enter the wrong way behind somebody, you will be at the fence before you know it, and there's nothing you can do about it whenever it happens.
Yeah, that's like, because like Port Royal's not hopstyle. Hopstyle, you back it in, stab the and point it. And this is one thing. I know Cole's not a huge fan of hopstyle. I am. I love the place. I love it. But you never run bad there. How come? Is it just don't suit your driving style or what?
Not really. I took that Bandit car there a couple times, and I ran okay. But yeah, and I don't money.
Yeah.
I mean, just as far as what they race for over there, it ain't even worth going over there to me.
Modifieds on quarter miles and 3/8 mile racetracks, that there's no better show. Well, there's one better show: non-wing sprint cars. And then modifieds on that. I know I make a lot of late model guys mad when I say that, but like I really like late models, and like the dome's coming up, and everybody, the dome is a phenomenal event. I love it, but it's not the Chili Boat. Like when you go to the Chili Boat and you go to the Gateway Dirt Nationals, the dome's cool, but it's it's not. It's like going to a minor league football game and then going to the Super Bowl. Two totally different things. Yeah. You going back to the dome or?
I'm gonna go watch.
Yeah, I knew that. So Cole's he's not a fan of the cowboy up rough and tumble. He's just you know what? Now that I think about it, you might want to run pavement street styles.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. It sounds like he's a pavement guy.
Yeah,
to me.
you might be a pavement guy. You want to see? Can Tyler let you practice that car?
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. When guys like Chuck Barnes Jr., your ass is in trouble. Cole Falloway is coming to Salem for you. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not gonna get you in trouble with Chucky.
That would be cool.
No, I'm pit crew whenever we go there.
No, I'm not. I won't get you in trouble with Chucky. We went to high school together. We're good. So, but. Before we get off here, I know it takes a lot of money to go up and down the road. Any sponsors you want to thank? Anybody you want to thank help make this go?
Mom and Dad, first of all. They do a lot for me. Charlie and Curtis always there with me. Perfection Lawn Care, Don Adams Towing. I got a picture up there. Quality Tree Care. Kelly Trucking, he helps me a ton. Tyler Nicely helps me out all the time. I'm forgetting a ton of people right now. Slicker Graphics, Rice Contracting. It ain't even on.
Yeah.
I don't know his password.
Hold on a second. He's got to break up the computer screen.
Elite Chassis, Nick, helps me a ton. Jervitz Racing Shocks, Ryan Rose now, always helps out anytime he can. Rolling Pin Bakery, Superior Backyard Pools. Digger Fencing, Ted Brown Quality Paint and Body. I think that's most of them. I'm probably still forgetting some, but
I'll speak for Cole. If he forgot somebody, he's sorry because I told him this was going to be a bullshit session, and I asked him a serious question. Okay, so that's on me.
There's a ton of people. There's everybody who comes over every once in a while and helps out. Just everybody.
Well, anything else you want to say before we get off here?
I don't think so.
So it wasn't that bad, was it? Nah. So I didn't pick on you too much, right?
No, you're good.
Okay. Thank you again for doing this. Yep. This is Owensboro, Kentucky's Cole Falloway. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Owensboro, Kentucky's Cole Falloway in this week's Deep Dives. And when Kurt and I was down there, like I said, Cole got in about 4 in the morning, and when I called him and we set up the interview, he's like, "Don't come here too early in the morning."
Yeah.
So. Cole, big thank you to Cole Falloway for doing the interview. We gave him a hard time. We teased him.
Yeah.
But, really fun interview. One thing a lot of people don't know about Cole is, I'm known him for working with a series and stuff, is he's got a really good sense of humor. You don't see that if you watch the races on Flow or Dirt Vision.
Right, yeah.
Or you see his interviews. You don't see the cutting up and having a good time. And
yeah.
And that's the reason why we're doing this, try to open up, different eyes on people because, Cole Falloway is a kid that's an up-and-coming superstar.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it, and I asked him, about how long is he going to race, and, Cole's like us when, we were in our 20s. He's going to race forever. He don't know.
Yeah.
He's just, but, the kid's going to be a star. He's already one of the top Open Wheel modified drivers in the country. In a region that's really, really tough to do that in. Not where he lives, but where he races.
Right. He races in the places you need to go race to be good.
Yeah, if you're going to be successful in UMP modifieds, because USRA, IMCA, that's a different they're different rules.
Right.
But if you're going to be successful in a UMP modified and learn how to drive and learn how to race, he's doing it the right way. He's going to Illinois and racing with the best guys in the country.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand this. I thought Cole, because I've watched him race for so long, I thought he was like mid-20s. I didn't realize he was 21 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really mature on and off the track for a 21-year-old.
Oh, yeah, he really is.
Talks about working for his grandpa and stuff there, and he won't work for his dad.
Yeah.
So, but one thing that I will say, though, because Cole was kind of wary that I was going to pick on him just a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Because every time I see him, I'm always busting his chops.
Yeah.
But we talked about, on this show, we talk about the good and the bad. And I gave him shit for leaving Florence that night.
Yeah.
And, he knew where I was going before I went there. But he acknowledged it and had a valid reason. And
yeah.
So, but, shout out to Cole Falloway for doing the interview. Like I said, I really appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And we were there in the hood in Owensboro.
Yeah.
So, Cole, he's not real, hood guy tough.
Yeah.
So I told him, man, if you want to take this outside, we'll take this outside. I feel at home. So, but it was all fun. This week coming up, we have, like I said, our show is going to go on the road, like literally on the road.
Yeah.
We're going to be in New York City. We're going to miss the Gateway as far as being there in person, but we're going to keep up with everything that goes on. Guys, Gateway Dirt National Week, there's plenty of new wraps. There's plenty. I tell you what, now that now we're talking about Gateway real quick. Did you see Thursday night's modified lineup?
No.
Oh my God! Like, if you're gonna win the mod, it's hard to win at Gateway in the Super Late models.
Right.
But the mod invite only, Jordan Grabowski, Tim Ward, Mike McKinney. I mean, if you're gonna win at the modified, I think the modified race at Gateway may be the toughest race in the country to win.
Yeah, probably so.
Because those cars get biking up and they're not good on rough racetracks.
Right.
Like a modified needs a track to be smooth and slick. Mm-hmm. Gateway will not be smooth and slick.
Nope.
And you got the best drivers from all over every aspects of dirt modified racing, coming to Gateway.
So that's kind of what I like about it, man, because you get your IMCA guys, you get your
USMTS guys,
your regular UMP guys.
Yeah. You got Tyler Peterson coming down, Minnesota guys.
They come from everywhere.
Like my dream scenario, because I'm a modified guy, my dream scenario would be have like a 10 race series all over the country.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the World 100, but it's, you go to Minnesota, Iowa, Indiana, and
go to everybody's region. Yeah.
Go to everybody's region and nobody else runs.
Right.
Let's have 150, 200 cars, because I think XR is kind of onto something with that One Nation under mod thing.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if the guys, because, like that $100,000 win mod racers, guys, well, UMP's got better tires, this and that. I don't know exactly how you do it.
Yeah.
But it seems to work pretty good at Gateway, but I know the track's small. They just put everybody on the UMP tire because it's in the UMP region.
Right.
But you run your rules.
Yeah.
So if you want to, if you're a USMTS guy, you run a 5-inch spoiler, you run it. But it's Gateway. It's a 5th mile.
Right.
So it don't really...
It's not going to matter.
It's not going to matter there.
Chances are the spoiler's not going to be on there anyway. 10 laps in the race.
Yeah, very good chances. Especially for Tyler Peterson.
Yeah.
He's putting it on the top and going around the top. So
yeah.
But the Gateway Dirt National is such a fun event.
Yeah, I haven't got to go yet. I'm going to go one of these years.
It's a lot of fun. I love it. It's not a chili boat.
I know my buddy just called this weekend. He's got tickets to go. So him and his daughter's going. They already got their room and everything. So
it's fun.
We can get live reports from him if we need to.
Yeah, well, I've got 4 or 5 people that's reached out and said, hell, Wes told me, hey, if you want to do a live show, I'll call in from the dome and we'll do it live, And I told him, I said, Wes, we're going to be in New York. We're going to do the best we can. So, but like I said, the late models it's cool to see the late models in the building and ripping around the top like that. I'm a big fan of Gateway, and it's on its way to be one of the bigger racing events.
Yeah,
there is. It's not you say, I know you've never been there, so the racing is good. It's not great,
right?
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's good, but it's just unbelievable seeing those big cars rip around the racetrack.
Yeah,
but
well, they do it at the right time of the year. Is the nice thing about it. When people's already everybody's stuff's done, so they can go and not worry about it. It's more. It seemed to me like it'd be more just go have a good time than it would be to.
Well, that's what it is. Gateway's a party.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a bachelor party of races kind of thing.
I mean, guys go. I mean, they all put new wraps on to go, but they know they're not coming back with them.
Yeah.
So
and the reason why they do that is like a lot of these guys, there's so many fans at Gateway. I think there's more fans at Gateway than there is at the World 100.
Yeah.
And that you just sell your merchandise for the year.
Oh yeah.
A lot of guys that just pays for Speed Weeks. Hell, Charlie Medford, it made his career. There's a lot of people who didn't know who Charlie Medford was until the Dome.
Yeah.
But that kid you see him going yeah, wow, wow. That's Charlie Medford every time you see him at the racetrack.
Right.
So Gateway is it's a theatrical event. It's kind of like WrestleMania / World 100, but it's all bottled up in a dome. So it's a really, really good time. 2 more races this weekend. Well, 3 more races actually. All-Tech Raceway has the last wing sprint car race of the year down in Florida. It's a USCS 360 wing sprint car race. I think it's the Hurricane Region final points race, but I seen where Randy Hannigan, there's some pretty big names going to be hanging out in Florida this weekend for the last wing sprint car race. So if you're in the Florida area, you're in All-Tech, or hell, if you're in our area, and if you're in our area, you should be going to St. Louis because it's 4 hours away.
Right.
But you could always make the trip down to All-Tech Raceway. And one place I haven't been to that's on my bucket list, and I'm going to get to eventually. We're going to go to this racetrack flash. Millbridge starts their winter series, so they've got I think 4 or 6 events throughout the winter. I think it's 4. I think it's they're on twice a month for the next 2 months.
Maybe we can try to hit one of those in.
Yeah, we're gonna try to hit one.
Yeah.
But Millbridge starts their winter series for the 600 non-wing micros, and then
are they still gonna do it on Wednesday nights or
no? It's on Saturday.
Oh, is it?
It's Saturday and they start early because of
because
of the winter because it's where they're at. It gets cold. I mean, they still get snow.
Yeah.
So I think last year one time the rule of thumb for Millbridge, if the weather is above freezing, they're racing.
Right.
If it's below freezing, they're not.
Right.
And I kind of like that because guys are, what are they going to do with the weather? Well, Millbridge will let you know. If it's dry and it's 32 degrees, we're racing.
Yeah.
If it's 31, we're not. So
That's it.
It's pretty simple. I mean, you kind of can watch the weather and tell if you're going to be able to race or not that way.
Yeah.
So pretty cool deal. And the last one, we don't talk about pavement racing a whole lot, but the biggest pavement late model race of the year is Snowball Derbies this week.
Yeah.
So I like to put that out there because that's a race that me and Richie Alexander, my Richie buddy, he took me to a lot of Snowball Derbies, and it's the end all be all of pavement super late model racing. Mm-hmm. You get guys from NASCAR come down, and everybody talks about how great the Snowball Derby is, and it's a really good event. But I tell people all the time, like, you know what the Snowball Derby is? Like, what? I'm like, that's called Tuesday night at Brownstown.
Yeah.
That's the Castrol Flow night in America. We got the best late model drivers in the country running for $25,000 on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, guess what? Wednesday, they're going to be over at Peevely.
Yeah.
Same guys. So, I understand why people enjoy the event, but I've been to so many of these races that I'm not going to hate on the event because I've had a good time down there, but still, it's just a regular,
right?
That's what pavement super late model racing used to be everywhere.
Yeah,
and it's not no more. So that's why I'm glad Snowball Derby still gets good car counts, especially with the modifieds and the crate cars, the snowflake race.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like I said, next week the show will be on the road. Kurt and I, we won't be doing any slot car racing this week, so we won't have no tore up slot cars to fix. Now we're hoping we can get all the way up to Niagara Falls and check out the iceberg up there. Buffalo, I seen at the football game today, they had to shovel 4 foot of snow with tractors.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly.
Well, I checked a little while ago. 90 was back open, but they're calling for 2 to 3 more foot of lake effect snow, so it might be closed again pretty quick.
So it might be closed again. So next week's show, we'll talk about our travels and where we ended up at. Because we may not see Niagara Falls this weekend, but we're definitely going to New York City and doing all the Christmas stuff. And, and until next week, we'll be trading sliders.